The year is 1921. Padre Pio, living in the Capuchin Monastery of San Giovanni Rotondo, had already become known for the stigmatas, wounds resembling Christ's, miraculous healings, the ability to read souls, and supernatural apparitions. Yet behind these extraordinary gifts lay a life of deep suffering, physical, emotional, and spiritual. He hardly slept. He rarely ate. He spent up to 15 hours a day hearing confessions. People came from all over Europe, farmers, soldiers, mothers, the sick, and those who had lost all hope. But among all the tragedies he encountered, one question tormented countless families. Father, what happens to a soul who ends their own life? Padre Pio would lower his eyes. He never answered quickly. Not because he didn't know, but because the truth was heavy. One morning, a woman dressed in mourning black arrived from Florence. Her eyes were empty from weeping. She waited 3 days for a chance to speak to Padre Pio. When she finally stood before him in the confessional, she could hardly breathe. Father, my son ended his life. Please tell me the truth. Is he lost forever? The church fell silent. Padre Pio closed his eyes. The wounds on his hands pulsed painfully. He whispered, My daughter, God's mercy is not what you imagine. Your son is not lost. The woman gasped. How can that be? The church says. Padre Pio gently interrupted. Between the moment of the act and the moment the soul leaves the body, there is more time than the world understands. Time for repentance. Time for a final cry toward God. But Padre Pio hadn't yet told her the full story. A story from his own vision. A vision that shook him to the core. It was a cold winter night in 1918, just months after Padre Pio received the stigmata. He was praying alone in his cell when suddenly, the candle beside him flickered violently. The room temperature dropped. A presence filled the space. Padre Pio lifted his eyes. A man appeared. But he wasn't a living man. He was pale, trembling, confused, as if lost between worlds. Padre Pio stood but felt no fear. He had seen souls before, souls in purgatory seeking prayer. The man spoke in a broken whisper. Padre, I ended my life. I didn't want to. I wasn't thinking, I was drowning inside my mind. The Padre Pio approached him gently. The soul continued, I am not in hell, Father, but I am not at peace. But I am in a place of shadows, a place where the soul sees the truth of its final moment. Padre Pio described this later. It was not the fire of condemnation. It was the fire of realization, a fire that burns away confusion, a fire that exposes the wound inside the soul, a fire that purifies painfully, but with hope. Padre Pio wrote in his diaries, God gives every soul one last breath of light, even when others believe all is lost. According to Padre Pio, many who end their life do it confusion, in deep emotional darkness, without full understanding, without full consent of the will, and, because of that, God opens a mysterious door, a final instant of clarity, a last chance for the soul to call out, Lord, have mercy on me. Padre Pio told the grieving mother, Your son had that moment. He turned toward God. That is why he is not lost. The woman collapsed into tears, not of despair, but relief. Padre Pio shared this vision with several spiritual children. This is what he said. I saw the soul standing on the edge of a great chasm. On one side was darkness, the darkness he had fallen into during life. On the other side was a faint light, a light he barely believed in. But in that final instant, he turned toward it. The soul then began a long purification. Not eternal loss, but healing. Not fire in the earthly sense, but the burning pain of seeing. The hurt his action caused, the years he would miss, the prayers of his mother, the love he couldn't feel, the God who never abandoned him, and yet, in that pain was mercy. Padre Pio never encouraged despair. He called suicide a wound that breaks the heart of God. But he also said, no soul is lost unless it chooses to be. Many who fall in weakness rise in mercy. He begged people, never lose hope, never give up praying for such souls. Never assume condemnation, always trust in God's mysterious justice. He once said, God counts tears as prayers. A farmer once told Padre Pio, my brother jumped off a bridge. I fear he is damned. Padre Pio answered, no. Between the bridge and the river, he met God. He asked forgiveness, and God embraced him. That single sentence became one of the most famous teachings attributed to Padre Pio. Padre Pio spent his life fighting for souls trapped in darkness, not condemning them. He believed that despair is a temptation. The mind can break like a bone. God sees the truth within the storm, and divine mercy is far greater than human judgment. Before his death in 1968, he whispered to his friars, tell the world, God runs faster to a wounded soul than a soul runs to him.